I didn't think anything of it at the time. That's the part that sticks with me. It was a normal evening. I got home around the same time I always do, parked in my usual spot, grabbed my bag, and headed inside. Daniel was out there too. He lived right next door to me. We weren't friends or anything, but we'd talk sometimes. Just quick conversations when we ran into each other. He was by his car when I got there. Phone in one hand, keys in the other. I said, "Hey." He looked up, gave a small nod, and said it back. Nothing unusual. I remember he asked me what time it was. Not in a weird way, just casually. Like his phone had died or something. I told him. He said thanks. Then he just stood there for a second, like he was about to say something else. But he didn't. He just turned, locked his car, and went inside. That was it. That was the last time I saw him. Later that night, I was at home. TV on, lights off, just relaxing. At some point, I heard something. A knock. Soft. Not on my door. Somewhere behind me. I muted the TV and listened. Another knock. Same spot. It didn't even cross my mind that it was coming from his place. I just assumed it was the building, or pipes, or someone upstairs. I didn't move. Didn't check. Just sat there and waited for it to stop. And it did. After that, everything went quiet again. I turned the TV back on. Forgot about it. The next morning, there were police outside. 2 cars. One parked crooked across the entrance. I stepped out to see what was going on. One of the officers asked if I lived next door. I said yeah. He asked if I'd seen Daniel recently. I told him I saw him the night before, outside. He asked what time. I told him roughly. He wrote it down. Then he asked if I'd heard anything. I hesitated, then mentioned the knocking. He looked at me for a second, then said, "We think he'd already been dead by then." I didn't really react. Not right away. I just nodded, like I understood what he was saying, even though I didn't. I went back inside, sat down, tried to think through it. The timing didn't make sense. I knew when I got home. I knew when I heard the noise. And if what he said was right, that meant the sound didn't come from Daniel. I looked toward the wall, the one between our apartments, just stared at it for a bit. There was nothing there. No marks, no damage, nothing unusual, just a wall. But I kept thinking about the sound, how it didn't echo, how it felt close, not above, not below, right there. And the more I thought about it, the less it sounded like someone knocking to get out. It sounded like someone knocking to check if I was home. The last time I saw her, I almost didn't stop. I was already late, running behind, trying to get to work on time, and I saw her standing by the bus stop up the road. Same spot she always used, headphones in, looking down at her phone. I slowed down for a second, thought about just driving past. We weren't close like that. We used to talk more before, but over time it just became quick greetings. A wave, a "you good" here and there. Nothing serious. But something made me stop. I pulled over a little ahead of her and rolled the window down. She looked up when she heard the car, pulled one side of her headphones off. I asked if she needed a ride. She hesitated, just for a second. Then she smiled and said, "Yeah, if you don't mind." I told her to hop in. She got in the passenger seat, thanked me, and closed the door. Everything felt normal. She smelled like she had just gotten ready for work. Hair done, bag on her lap. She asked me how I'd been. I said good. Asked her the same. She said, "I'm tired, but I'm good." We both kind of laughed. That was it. No long conversation, no deep talk, just normal. About 2 minutes into the drive, she told me I could drop her off at the corner instead of going all the way. Said it was closer to where she needed to be. I remember thinking it didn't make much sense, but I didn't question it. I just said, all right. When we got there, I slowed down and pulled over. She unbuckled her seatbelt, grabbed her bag, then paused for a second before opening the door, like she was about to say something. She looked at me, not in a scared way, not in a rush, just like she was thinking. Then she said, "Thanks again." I told her no problem. She smiled, got out, and closed the door. I watched her walk for a few seconds. Then I drove off. That was the last time I saw her. Later that day, I heard what happened. Someone at work mentioned it, said there had been an incident not too far from where I dropped her off. I didn't connect it at first, not until they said her name. Everything kind of slowed down after that. I remember just sitting there, trying to piece it together. The time, the location, how close it was. I left early that day, drove back the same route, stopped at that same corner, just sat there for a while, looking at the sidewalk, trying to remember exactly how it happened, what she said, how she looked. And one thing kept coming back to me. That moment before she got out, when she paused. I keep thinking about it, over and over, because now, it feels like she was waiting for me to say something. Like maybe she didn't actually want to get out there. Like maybe she expected me to question it, or tell her I'd just drop her all the way, or ask why. But I didn't. I just let her go. And the worst part is, if I had just kept driving, if I had just said, "I'll take you the rest of the way," there's a chance that moment never happens. And I wouldn't still be sitting here, thinking about the last time I saw her, and realizing it might not have had to be the last. The last time I saw him, I didn't think it was strange. Not at first. I was leaving work late, later than usual. The building was mostly empty by then, so I took the stairs instead of waiting for the elevator. It's only a few floors, nothing crazy. I remember I had my phone in my hand, scrolling through something as I walked down, not really paying attention. About halfway down, I heard footsteps. Coming up. Slow. Steady. I moved slightly to the side to let whoever it was pass. Kept my eyes on my phone. When he came into view, I glanced up for a second. Just a quick look, enough to register him. Same height as me, similar build, dark hoodie, head slightly down. We passed each other without saying anything. I remember thinking he looked familiar. Not in a way that stood out, just one of those faces. You feel like you've seen them before, but you can't place it. I didn't stop, didn't turn around, just kept walking down. Pushed the door open at the bottom and stepped out into the parking lot. Got into my car, drove home. That was it. The next morning, I woke up to a bunch of missed calls. Texts, too. Mostly from work. I called one of my coworkers back. He picked up immediately. Didn't even say hello. Just asked me where I was. I told him I was home. He went quiet for a second, then said, "You need to come in." I asked why. He said, "Just come." So I did. When I got there, the building felt different. Too quiet. There were a couple people standing near the entrance. One of them looked at me like they'd seen something they weren't expecting. I walked past them and went inside. My coworker met me near the stairs. The same stairwell. He didn't say much, Just asked me if I had been there late the night before. I told him yeah, left around the same time I always do. He nodded. Then asked if I saw anyone. I thought about it for a second, then mentioned the guy on the stairs, dark hoodie, coming up as I was going down. My coworker didn't say anything. He just looked at me, then slowly said, "Someone was found in the stairwell last night." I felt that drop in my stomach, the kind you can't really explain. I asked what happened. He said they didn't know yet, just that he had been there for a while. I asked what floor. He said between the same 2 floors I would have passed, right around the same time I was leaving. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, trying to replay it in my head. The footsteps, the timing, how close it was. Then I asked the only thing that made sense. What did he look like? My coworker hesitated, then said, "They're still trying to confirm identity." But then he added something, almost like he wasn't sure if he should. He said, "But they found his ID." I nodded, waiting. And then he said my name. Exactly. First and last. Clear. No hesitation. I laughed. Not because it was funny, just because it didn't make sense. I told him that wasn't possible. I was right there. I walked past whoever that was. I'm standing here. He didn't argue, didn't try to convince me. He just looked at me, like he was trying to figure something out. And that's when it hit me. Not all at once, just slowly. The way the guy on the stairs kept his head down, the way he didn't look up, the way I only glanced for a second. Just enough to recognize something, but not enough to question it. I keep thinking about that moment, how easy it would have been to stop, to look properly, to say something, anything. Because now, that's the last time I remember seeing him. And I can't shake the feeling that if I had just looked a little longer, I would have realized I wasn't walking past someone else. I was walking past myself.